All right, today we're going to tackle something that could completely, and I mean completely, change your financial future. We're talking about the huge and often really misunderstood difference between saving and investing.
So let's just jump right in with a question for you. Imagine you've got these two choices right in front of you. Which one do you pick? I mean, most of us, right, we'd instinctively grab that 100 pounds. It's 10 times more money. It just feels like the smarter, safer way to build up a nice little nest egg. But what if I told you the obvious answer is actually the wrong one?
And here's the thing. This isn't about your personal opinion or, how much risk you're comfortable with. This comes down to cold, hard maths. And I promise you, by the end of this, the numbers themselves are going to show you how that much smaller amount can actually build a far, far bigger future.
Okay, let's dive in. We're going to start with the option that feels the safest, saving. Now, don't get me wrong, putting money in a bank account is a fantastic habit for, say, an emergency fund or a short-term goal. Absolutely. But as a long-term plan for building wealth, well, it's got a really serious flaw. So, let's say you did it. You diligently saved 100 pounds every single month for 2 whole decades. You'd have put away 24,000 pounds of your own hard-earned cash. With a typical savings rate, maybe 3%, that pot grows to about $32,000. And you look at that, and it feels like a win, but there is a thief hiding in plain sight.
And that thief is inflation. It's this silent force that just makes everything more expensive over time. Just look at the two sides here. On the left, you've got your savings growth, maybe 2 to 4%. But on the right, you've got inflation, which in a normal year is eating away 2 to 3% of your money's buying power. Do you see the problem? Your savings are growing at almost the exact same speed that your money is losing its value.
So here's the crucial point, the big takeaway. When your interest rate just barely matches inflation, your real growth is basically zero. Nothing. Sure, you're getting more pounds in your account, but each one of those pounds buys you less than it did last year. You're working so hard to save, but you're essentially on a financial treadmill, just running to stand still.
So let's totally switch gears now and look at the alternative. Let's see how investing acts as this powerful engine for your money, something that works on a completely different principle than just, storing it away.
First off, let's be clear. Investing isn't gambling. It's not trying to get rich quick. At its core, it's actually pretty simple. It's about becoming a part owner in real, living, breathing businesses. When you invest, you're buying tiny little pieces of companies that are out there making things, selling products, and generating profits. Their growth literally becomes your growth. Now, of course, the stock market can feel like a total roller coaster from one day to the next. We all see the scary headlines. But the real key is to zoom out. Way out. Over decades, despite all those crazy ups and downs, the broad market has delivered an average return of around 8 to 10% a year. The trick is to focus on that long-term trend, to stop worrying about the bumps, and instead ride that powerful overall wave of economic growth.
And this is where we find the real magic, the secret sauce of investing. It's called compounding. This is the incredible moment where your money starts making its own money. You're not just earning returns on what you put in, but on all the past returns as well. It creates this amazing snowball effect that starts off tiny, but over time, it just becomes unstoppable.
All right, it is time. Let's go all the way back to that first question, saving that chunky 100 pound a month versus investing just a tiny 10 pounds. We've seen the two different machines, the storage unit versus the growth engine. So now, let's actually run the numbers. And believe me, the result is genuinely astonishing.
First, just look at the cash that you actually put in from your own pocket. The saver, over 20 years, puts away a respectable 24,000 pounds. Now, to make it fair, we'll give our investor double the time, a full 40 years to let that compounding magic really get to work. But even with all that time, the investor only puts in $4,800 total. That is 5 times less out-of-pocket cash.
And here is the payoff. The saver's $24,000 contribution grew to about $32,000. Hey, not bad. But the investor's tiny $4,800, fueled by that long-term growth and 4 decades of compounding, it snowballed into over $50,000. Just let that sink in for a second. Less money in, way more money out.
So the absolute key lesson, the powerful truth here, is this. The amount of time your money is working for you, plus a decent growth rate, is infinitely more powerful than how much you start with. A small seed planted early will always grow into a mightier tree than a huge seed planted too late.
Okay, so this all sounds great, but it probably brings up the big question, right? I get it, but how do I actually do it? How do you fire up this engine without it feeling super complicated or totally overwhelming? Well, the brilliant news is it is easier and more accessible today than it has ever been. It really just boils down to these 3 simple steps. First, start small. Seriously, the amount does not matter at the beginning. If you can afford a coffee, you have enough to start. Second, be consistent. You have to make it a regular habit, just like brushing your teeth. That's how you build real momentum. And finally, the most important step. Let time do the heavy lifting for you. Be patient and just let that incredible compounding engine work its magic.
At the end of the day, it's really this simple. Saving is for your short-term safety, but investing is for your long-term freedom. By taking that first small, consistent step, you are giving your future self the single greatest gift you could ever imagine. You know, the best time to plant that tree was 20 years ago. The second best time is right now.